film is a sci-fi romance from 2017 titled The Space Between Us. The film opens with the CEO of Genesis Space Technologies, Dr. Nathaniel, making an official statement about sending 6 astronauts to Mars in a public event. He's sending them on this mission to analyze if they can colonize Mars and transfer the human race there because humans have nearly exhausted their resources. He introduces the astronauts to the public. Sarah, being the lead astronaut, answers people's questions regarding her journey before taking off. When their rocket launches into space, Sarah constantly feels nauseous. Nathaniel stays in touch with the astronauts from the space station. In space, Sarah finds out she's pregnant. When the news is delivered to Nathaniel and Tom, the owner of Genesis Space Technologies, they begin refuting over Sarah. Nathaniel doesn't want the astronauts to return and waste all the resources that he's put on them, whereas Tom wants Sarah back on Earth due to her condition. 9 months later, she gives birth to a boy on Mars. Unfortunately, she faces complexities and dies in labor.
Heart rate is dropping.
After mourning her loss, Nathaniel suggests Tom and the board keep the boy on Mars instead of bringing him back to Earth since he's born without gravity and has weak bones and a fragile heart. He personally asks Tom to let him visit the boy, but Tom reminds him of his brain condition that can be triggered in space. Furthermore, he decides to hide Sarah's death and her child from the press media to save their company's reputation since the father is anonymous. The film takes a 16-year leap into the future, and we see Sarah's boy, Gardner, growing into an exceptionally intelligent teenager on Mars. He's created a DIY robot out of random things and has named it Centaur, who helps ease his tasks. One day, he demands that Centaur create a map of the ventilating systems that go from his quarter to the storage facility of East Texas, the name of their headquarters. Centaur acts all secretive and denies his request. He doesn't appreciate this and opens Centaur's head to access old files.
Centaur, mission member.
We're running out of time.
To the White House, and he's 12 years old. Blah.
Sorry, we only have time.
Hey, Mom.
Simultaneously, he's called by Kendra to run some errands in the lab, who's his legal guardian and Sarah's best friend. There, he helps Kendra fix the irrigation system, revealing their growing plants on Mars. Soon, he returns to the extraction of old files and accesses the map to the storage unit. There, he discovers a storage device of Sarah's, which is filled with her memories from Earth. Gardner spots a man beside his mother and assumes it's his father. He prints that specific picture and sends it to his online friend, Tulsa, from Earth. Tulsa talks to him during her lab class and shares that she wishes to leave her foster home at a legal age and enroll in her dream college, where she wants Gardner too. Gardner stirs up an excuse about having a rare disease, which limits him to his penthouse. After work, Kendra watches a movie with Gardner to strengthen her bond with him. Back on Earth, Tulsa is bullied to the point where she rides back home to her drunk foster father. She wants him to fix a field airplane with him, but he doesn't even respond. Meanwhile, Gardner succeeds in escaping the station in a space car. He visits his mother's grave, where his car spirals out of control and overturns, which disconnects the oxygen from his spacesuit. Thankfully, Kendra rescues him and scolds him on their way back to the station. Later, she feels bad for Gardner and discusses the issue with Nathaniel, who's with Tom. When they learn about Gardner's mental state after singling him out from humanity, Tom is willing to take the risk of bringing Gardner to Earth. Nathaniel finally yields and comes up with an intricate procedure to pump some powerful substances into Gardner's bones to make them sustainable for Earth's gravity. Tom also passes out an official statement to let the others know about Gardner's return. Kendra excitedly breaks the news to Gardner, who gets swept off his feet and contacts Tulsa to tell her he's coming to see her soon. Up next, Gardner is given the bone surgery and is physically trained to walk in Earth's gravity. At night, he watches Hollywood classics and learns to communicate with humans. Scenes cut to Gardner's first interplanetary voyage. He and Kendra land on a deck near their facility on Earth. Gardner starts feeling like something is weighing him down, which is certainly gravity. At the facility, they quarantine him, where Nathaniel pays him a visit. However, Gardner is convinced that he isn't welcomed on Earth and fears that he might be sent back to Mars. When he's left alone, he escapes the room and steals a guard's uniform to blend in. He sees his only way out through a loading truck, so he sneakily hops on it. When Nathaniel acknowledges Gardner's absence, he sends out a SWAT team after him. On Gardner's end, he gets out of the truck and has trouble taking steps on the highway, due to which he nearly gets run over by a transport vehicle. He comes across a pawn shop, where he trades his color spectrum advanced spectacles in exchange for normal sunglasses and directions to Oklahoma, since that's where Tulsa lives. At the Oklahoma bus stand, he gets to see rain for the first time, which amuses him a lot. On the other hand, Kendra hacks Centaur to read Gardner's chats with Tulsa. She further takes Nathaniel's help to get Tulsa's address and heads straight to her in a chopper with Nathaniel. On the opposite, Gardner reaches Oklahoma and heads straight to Tulsa's school and surprises her. In return, she slaps him for ghosting her for 7 months. Gardner can't reveal that it took him long because he came from Mars, so he cooks up lame excuses that she doesn't buy. She tells him to wait in the hall and runs to her class. Gardner refuses to wait and shows up in her class, where he takes a seat beside Tulsa. After the class, he asks for Tulsa's help in tracing his father since he has no other specific goals. Tulsa takes him home where Kendra and Nathaniel are already waiting for him. They surround the area with the SWAT team and request Gardner to head back with them, which he bluntly denies. The SWAT team chases him in the open fields where Gardner is offered an airplane ride from Tulsa, which she had repaired earlier.
All right, you're gonna need to get in. Hurry! Come on!
Gardner jumps in and flies away with her. He admires the land from the sky. But soon, the oil engine stops working and causes Tulsa to prepare for an emergency landing on the highway. The plane ends up crashing and exploding, but Tulsa saves Gardner by asking him to jump in advance. Tom also reaches the crime scene to investigate if Gardner is in it or not. There, Nathaniel and Kendra get into an argument. Kendra loses her faith in Nathaniel when he blames her decision of bringing the boy to Earth. Tulsa and Gardner steal a broken car from a random workshop and get off the grid. Tulsa even switches her phone off so that the Genesis people cannot trace it. As they're escaping through landscapes, Tulsa accuses Gardner of being a liar and picks up a fight. The two, however, start understanding one another slowly. Gardner and Tulsa stop by a diner and find an abandoned iPad, on which Tulsa searches up Gardner's mother and realizes he wasn't lying to her. Gardner shows her the ring he found from his mother's items, which has some initials engraved on it. Through Tulsa's fast intuition, she finds out it was his mother's wedding ring. The initials engraved on it lead them to an Indian guy's address who wed Gardner's parents. The two see the police sheriff and run away immediately. Meanwhile, Nathaniel loses his mind while interrogating kids. Kendra stops him and plans on using a satellite to expand their search. The two get a call from the lab, revealing Gardner's high troponin levels in his blood are causing heart enlargement in his body. Meanwhile, Gardner and Tulsa have a fun time on the road. The two shop for sleeping bags and get some clothes from a mall where they are traced by Nathaniel through CCTV footage. The two head out to find the Indian guy who wed Gardner's parents. They stop for the night at an isolated mountain where they eventually make love and sleep together. The next morning, they find a woman who leads them to the Indian guy. Through the guy, they find out the address of Gardner's mother since she paid through her credit card. The two head to Summerland, California. Tulsa stops at a place to show Gardner some famous monuments. Gardner's nose starts bleeding, and he freaks out while repeating the world seems fake to him. Suddenly, he faints and gets taken to the hospital by Tulsa. There, the doctors examine his body and become amused to see the large heart that's killing Gardner. They tell Tulsa that they will fix him, but will call social services to make some news since this is a one-of-a-kind case. Tulsa, on Gardner's insistence, breaks him out of the hospital and steals a new car to hit the road. Whereas the two head to Sarah's home, Nathaniel and Kendra trace the two through a credit card transaction at the hospital. Strangely, Nathaniel understands where the kids are headed to. Hence, they head in the same direction. On finally reaching the address, Tulsa helps Gardner get out of the car since he looks worse than a corpse. When the two finally approach the man who was in the picture with Gardner's mother, the man refuses to be his father. Gardner hits rock bottom and runs to the beach. The guy tells Tulsa that he's Sarah's brother and doesn't know who Gardner's father is. Tulsa runs after Gardner to save him since he's vulnerable.
Not your father!
In the funny papers.
But he lets the waves take him in. Luckily, Nathaniel and Kendra reach on time and pull him out of the sea. There, Gardner confesses that he knows Nathaniel is his father, to which he agrees. Gardner greets him and shuts his eyes. Sarah's brother calls the cops on them, who take Gardner in an emergency ambulance. Subsequently, Nathaniel, Kendra, and Tulsa are seen taking Gardner to a flying jet where Nathaniel takes charge and flies the jet outside of the Earth to get Gardner a little better. There, Tulsa convinces him to go back to Mars and quit dreaming of living on Earth. They get back to Earth, where it is revealed that Kendra isn't going to Mars with Gardner. She bids farewell to Gardner. Tulsa also shows up and says goodbye as she watches his rocket launch from the station. By the end of the film, Kendra is seen tracing Tulsa and asking her to come live with her for the rest of her life. Nathaniel is seen on Mars, spending his last days with his son Gardner since his brain condition will not allow him to live any longer outside Earth. The film ends. Thanks for watching. Please don't forget to like and subscribe for more awesome recaps.